everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Laura Afonso, here at the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center, live for GoLocal Prov. And we have a very special guest in store for us today, Chef Eli Dunn. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Of course. Now, you may know Chef Eli Dunn from Eli's Kitchen in Warren, but really he's putting Little Rhody on the map because he is our recent Chopped champion, Food Network star, Chopped champion. We're so excited to have you here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So before we get started talking about Chopped, which we all want to hear the juicy details about,
all right.
I want to hear about yourself, your history as a chef, and how you got really started up.
Sure. So I grew up in Seekonk, Mass. My mom owned a seafood restaurant for 30 years, Phoebe's Fish and Chips. So I literally was born in an apartment right above the restaurant, started working in the restaurant when I was 13. I'm 41 now, so you do the math. It's been 28 years. I've worked in restaurants all over the country, from corporate places right down to small family-run businesses, and yeah, it's been a trip.
Speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Yes. So you grew up in a seafood restaurant, so you are very well versed in all things coming from the sea.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we literally, my mom had, she was doing, sea to fork, if you want to call it, if you will, in the 70s and 80s before it really was a thing. She sourced all of her seafood from local fishermen in the Rhode Island and southeastern Massachusetts area. So I really was brought up in that kind of environment and, learned to have an appreciation for fresh local seafood.
Right. We really are very lucky here in Rhode Island, Massachusetts.
Yeah, we're surrounded by water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some of the best fresh fish in the country. So, we really have that to our advantage.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
So let's talk about Chopped. It is literally one of my favorite shows to watch. I binge watch it regularly. I've actually, since I found out that you won, I was like, gotta get caught up on all of my Chopped episodes. So if you have never seen Chopped, basically what the premise is, you get a mystery basket. You're going to make an appetizer in a short amount of time with mystery items.
Yep.
So you don't know what you're walking into, and it may be really obscure, strange ingredients that you've never heard of before or cooked with. So it kind of throws you for a loop, and you have to get right to it and nail the dish. Have to make something great out of something maybe a little weird.
Right. And that's not scripted. The actual cooking part is not scripted. The timer is real. The mystery boxes are made by somebody, and you have no idea what's in those mystery boxes until you open it on national TV and
surprise.
And surprise, exactly. And I actually in my competition had two of I think the top 10 most difficult ingredients to work with throughout the competition in durian fruit, which is in the top 3 I think, and pig's ears.
Yeah.
So I really had to, I'd run the gauntlet of difficult ingredients to cook with. But I also got quahogs, which was manna from the gods.
Exactly,
So,
I know.
yeah.
So you were blessed. Quahog clams, we all know Rhode Island's classic staple, might as well be the state animal.
Yeah.
I guess you can, it is a living
Mascot?
thing. Mascot is the quahog clam.
Yeah.
And so you must have opened that. What was your reaction when you saw quahog sitting in your basket?
Well, it's funny because I had to do a couple takes because my first reaction was disbelief because I thought, who do I know here at the studio? I mean, it was what an icebreaker for me. I mean, I really, obviously I had a lot of nerves and to get quahogs, which the driveway at my mom's restaurant is literally paved with quahog shells.
You've been walking on them for a
the
long
waitresses
time.
at Phoebe's smoked cigarettes and used quahogs for ashtrays. I mean, it was I grew up with quahogs, so it was what an icebreaker and what a great way to start the competition. And I think really that first round won me the competition because it was so solid.
Yes. So let's talk about your judges.
Okay.
So we have celebrity chefs judging the competition. We have Martha Stewart. We have Marcus Samuelson. We have Monique. So that must have been really incredible to be standing in front of these really amazing chefs. Were you a little starstruck by any of them? What were your thoughts?
I really wasn't starstruck. I mean, I think I was nervous, but you can ask my wife. I just am. I'm really a cool cucumber. I'm calm under pressure in most situations, and I really. I think that they wanted me to be a little more starstruck than I was,
Oh my God, Martha.
But I was obviously elated to to have Martha Stewart as one of the judges. I have several of her cookbooks. I have a ton of respect for her and the work she's done, and as a chef. And Marcus Samuelson and Monique are I didn't know a ton about Manit, but had done some research, and her food is amazing, and I love Indian food. And Marcus Samuelsson, I had read his memoir. I have a ton of respect for him.
Yeah.
So I think I really got the 3 judges that I would have wanted if I had the choice.
Because it's constantly a rotating schedule of judges. So
depending
you never
on
really
who's
know
available,
who you're gonna
you
get.
never know who you're going to get.
And each of them have their own tastes and preferences. So so my next question is, did you do your research?
I did my research. I definitely went on the foodnetwork.com and read about each of the different judges. I Googled them, and I found out what they like and what they don't like. I did a lot of research on strategies and different things to do on set and in the kitchen. And but really, I have a lot of faith in my ability to cook for people, to sort of bridge that gap between me and the diner, and it's not really my ego or my whim. It's more about like, how can I be of service to you? So I think that I really paid attention to a lot of their criticisms in each of the judgings, and some of my competitors didn't,
Right,
and it ended up being fatal for them in the end,
Exactly.
and I tasted everything. I, was humble. I said, thank you so much. And they edited a lot of that out. But I was really, I learned a lot from them. And I think that they could tell. And I think that they liked that. I also think that gave me an advantage because I was really open and teachable in the process.
Absolutely. So it's all, your personality kind of peeks through in that judging decision as well.
Right.
Yes. So my next question is, you don't know the ingredients that you're going to open up in that basket. But did you practice with any weird things, or did your friends and family say, okay, I want you to make me a breakfast using anchovies and some other weird stuff?
No, and I know that I've read that was a common strategy for people to have chop parties and things like that. At Eli's, the way that we do expanded specials every single day. In addition to our regular menu, and the way that we do our specials list is we put together what we call a to-use list, where we walk into the walk-in and all the refrigerators in the restaurant and in the pantry and see what we have, what's available, and we literally, like kamikaze style, come up with a specials list in an hour. Not 20 minutes, but in a short amount of time. And so I really had a lot of faith. And I've also worked in so many different kinds of restaurants and worked with so many different types of ethnicities. I just really think that it was like my experience is tailor-made for the Chopped competition. So I didn't want to psych myself out or I just wanted to trust my, I guess, the experience that I had already had and my talent and my abilities without sort of overthinking it.
Right. Definitely. Well, it worked in your advantage.
Thank you.
In that regard.
It did.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the dishes that you ended up making.
Sure.
So you had your quahog clams, and you made a Rhode Island clam chowder.
Rhode Island style clear clam chowder. Yep.
Now let's go over this really quick because we all know creamy clam chowder, white, thick, hearty, and delicious.
Right.
Clear clam chowder is a Rhode Island specialty. So can you tell me a little bit about what goes into it?
Right. So really the only difference is a New England style clam chowder is made with cream, and a Rhode Island style clam chowder is made with clam stock or clam juice. I mean, this is literally just 100% clam juice, nothing else. So, but otherwise, it's traditional ingredients: butter, bacon, potatoes, onions, flour. I mean, really basic, really simple.
Yeah.
But it's the amount of clams and the clam broth or the clam stock that really gives it that punchy, clammy, delicious flavor.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you made a Rhode Island clam chowder. You wowed the judges. You had those quahog clams.
Yep.
And you were working with some non-traditional items like tea eggs
Yep.
and chicken fat. So you're able to kind of substitute, instead of potatoes, we'll use the tea egg.
Yep.
And get creative, but you really impress them.
Yeah, well, and I mean, Martha, I think New England is close to her heart. I think she grew up in Connecticut.
Yes.
So I knew that chowder was going to work.
Yeah.
And so, I knew I was going to do chowder when I saw the quahogs. I didn't know what I was going to do with the tea eggs until about halfway through the process, and I actually realized that I had forgot potatoes. So I was panicking, and I realized I'm just going to use the tea eggs in place of the potatoes because I really don't. And the tea eggs actually had almost like a fennel kind of spice type flavor, which really works with seafood. So it made sense in my mind, and I knew right away I was going to use the chicken schmaltz in place of butter.
Right.
And the rest of the ingredients were in the pantry. So it was, and the yu choy I just basically blanched, chopped up, and put in there as just an additional vegetable in place of celery or whatever.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yep.
And then for your second course, you ended up lucking out with more seafood.
Yeah, I got Arctic char, which I've actually never cooked Arctic char before, but I had cooked salmon, And I thought in the competition, Arctic char was going to cook just like salmon. What I didn't realize is that Arctic char is a little bit more lean than salmon.
Okay.
So I did a baked presentation, and actually the judges didn't love the Arctic char. I'm grateful that the way that they edited it made it seem like they loved it.
They were all very pleased.
They had some criticisms that they didn't show on TV, and and they were right. Marcus Samuelsson, who is probably one of the best seafood chefs in the world, said it was dry, and that killed me.
Oh,
I was like, I'm going home. I mean, really, that's what I thought. They liked it. I pickled Martha's rhubarb,
Yes.
which I think
she liked that. Yeah.
She did like that. They
From Martha's
appreciated that.
Garden.
Yeah, that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. So I think that even though my dish wasn't like far and away better than the other contestants' dishes in the second round, I think the fact that I used her rhubarb in a creative way that highlighted the rhubarb, I think got me to the final round. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Now you were mentioning that you had some pretty difficult ingredients to work with.
Yeah.
So you had durian, you had pig's ear. Pig's ear is a very difficult ingredient to cook, especially in such a short time frame.
Yeah. Yep.
It's very chewy and has a lot of cartilage,
Right.
and you've got to get it nice and crispy and to avoid that really chewy texture.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do to your pig's ears?
So I blanched them, which I really had no idea,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of experience cooking seafood, and I have a lot of experience with vegetarian food, and a fair amount of experience cooking some meat stuff, but I'm not like a meat guy. Like I don't have any butchery experience. Like that's not really my thing. So I really didn't know what to do with pig's ears. I'd never eaten them before. So I figure I'm going to blanch them and then dry them, and then I'm going to deep fry them for a long time, and hopefully they get crispy. And they weren't. None of it, but what
I think
what
across
helped?
the board,
Yeah, what helped me out is nobody did the right thing
right.
with the pig's ears.
It's just very difficult.
And of course, in retrospect, I'm like, I could have used it as a stock or whatever to flavor, but of hindsight 2020.
the pressure.
So, yeah, exactly.
And then you also had durian. So can you explain what durian is? Because it looks like this crazy, alien egg. Things are humongous.
Yeah.
And they're just really funky.
Yeah. So durian is a Southeast Asian fruit that I guess is like a really environmentally sustainable fruit. I mean, there's a whole bunch of information about it that I had done a little research, but it's notorious for being off-putting in terms of the smell.
It's a very stinky fruit.
Yeah, it's a stinky fruit, and that is true. So when I cut into this, first of all, the durian fruit looked like one of a Game of Thrones dinosaur egg or dragon egg. I mean, it was just this enormous spiky fruit. And when I cut into it, the first thing I smelled was this sort of foot odor, funk, just sour, raw. I mean, it was raw. It was a really funky smell.
You're like, I have to make this into a dessert that tastes good? Oh, boy.
Yeah, and what was great is that I didn't know what the judges were saying at the time, but they were saying, really with durian, what you want to do is, mask it by blending it into something like an ice cream, which is exactly what I did.
You're like, perfect.
Yeah, and I knew I was going to make ice cream because it's something we do at Eli's. That's something I'm really confident in. It's infinitely adjustable and customizable in my experience. So I made a coconut milk and Mexican chocolate ice cream, which was dairy-free, which was vegan.
Perfect.
I put bacon on top, but
hey.
But yeah, and I just blended some of the raw durian right into it, and I tasted it. Of course, I tasted it, and actually my competitor at the end didn't taste he made a durian foam, and he didn't taste it.
It was very
and they were
strong
like durian forward, whereas I masked the durian in the chocolate ice cream. So.
So that's where the key element was.
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly.
Yes. So a big part of Chopped is that you are under the pressure of a timer.
Yep.
So the appetizer round is what, 20 minutes?
Appetizer round is 20 minutes. The entree round is 30 minutes, and the dessert round is 30 minutes.
So that's a very short amount of time to make a full meal and make it taste good and be creative using ingredients you've never even seen or heard of before.
Yeah.
Yes. So a lot of chefs may crack like an egg under the pressure. You seemed, like you said, calm and cool as a cucumber. What is the comparison between a slammed night at the restaurant, you're behind the line, and being filmed on Chopped?
In a way, Laura, and I'm actually just thinking about this right now, but in a way it was almost easier because in the Chopped kitchen, all I really had to think about was cooking. But when I'm at Eli's, I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician, I'm like a relationship counselor. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you wear so many different hats when you're a restaurant.
Role
yeah, exactly. And your attention is constantly being divided and pulled in a million different directions. So, I'm not often able to just focus on being creative and having fun in cooking. So in that sense, it was I don't want to say easier, but it didn't feel all that foreign to me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable in high pressure situations like that. I love, my adrenaline gets going. I love those kinds of,
Yeah.
you know, I cooked brunch at Julian's. I cooked brunch in a bunch of different
High
places. We
volume.
do brunch. I mean, and it's just like turn 'em and burn 'em, high volume, like, and I live for that, you know, like
Yeah.
I love that moment. So I think I wasn't, that wasn't scary or nerve wracking
Right.
at all. You know, the judging and everything else was something different, but the cooking part, I was surprisingly calm and
You were in
comfortable.
your element.
I was
this
in,
is
I
what
was in
you
the zone.
do. This is what you do, and that's why you won.
It was the definition of the zone, for sure.
Absolutely. So you're behind the line at the restaurant. Tell me a little bit about Eli's Kitchen, what kind of food you're serving, and what you're best known for.
Sure. So we do lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch. One Yelper described us as comfort food with global influences, which I really liked.
I like that. Yeah.
I've always really had a hard time telling people what Eli's Kitchen is. You know, my whole thing is, you know, what do you like? I'm going to cook it for you, kind of thing. You know, like that's always been my philosophy as a chef. I really believe in cooking as an act of service, and you know, I'm not really trying to impress critics or other chefs. I really just want to like make that connection with our patrons and our guests. And so the menu has changed and evolved over the years based on kind of, you know, the people that come through the doors, you know. So, but we kind of do a little bit of everything. You know, we make all of our own bread in house. We make everything from scratch. We make our own gluten-free bread. Yeah,
that's great.
So we have vegan options. You know, my goal was, you know, if you love steak and your partner, you know, wants a vegan curry, a Thai curry, you can come to Eli's and you can both have something delicious. It's not just a throwaway vegetarian dish like a salad or something like that, you know.
Absolutely.
So
you're able to reach like a really great broad audience. So instead of saying we're going to pigeon ourselves into only going out for Indian because we want that curry, or we want to go out for vegetarian, or we want to go out for a steak, because you have all of that as an option on your menu.
And it's risky, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we spread ourselves thin, but like I think you know, I've been blessed to have hired really talented chefs and surrounded myself by some really amazing cooks, and so each, you know, cook who's cooked at Eli's with me has sort of like brought their influence to the table, and you know, there are dishes on the menu that aren't my dishes, you know. I mean, I get the credit, which is great, but I always tell people like no, that wasn't my dish, you know, that was so and so. And so, you know, it's really been a sort of culinary melting pot of different influences.
Absolutely.
You know, so we're able to, like, you know, we make our own Thai curry paste. Like, we make falafel the traditional way with a meat grinder, you know, and fresh chickpeas, you know. So we don't do anything without really diving into the history, and, like, you know, I'm completely obsessed with having, you know, food taste and match the central expectation of a memory or some food experience that I have in my mind. Like, I have a very strong sensory connection to food, and so, you know, I can taste things in my mind. And so, you know, if I had an amazing falafel in New York at a falafel shack, when I make falafel, I want it to taste like that.
Exactly. So
I remember it, and I'm obsessed with making it perfect. You know, that's I'm driven. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you know, that shines through in your food, and that's why it's so great.
Thank you.
Definitely.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, what do you feel, how do you feel that winning Chopped influences the restaurant?
Well, I mean, in the most basic sense, I mean, we just had two of the busiest weeks I've ever had since we opened the restaurant.
I can see why.
And it's been a whirlwind. It's been super fun to be like a mini celebrity for a little while, which is kind of cool. But I think what's even cooler is the sort of like provincial roadie pride that like has on Sunday.
Serious.
On Sunday, our local state representative, Kenneth Marshall, walked in the middle of Sunday brunch and said, on behalf of the state of Rhode Island, I want to present you with this resolution that I drafted. And the resolution is like, whereas Eli Dunn competed on Chopped, whereas, you know, and it's this whole thing with like the Rhode Island, you know, seal on it. I mean, and I was almost crying, you know, in front of the entire restaurant. And I mean, it was such a touching and cool moment. And like, that is really what has been so cool about this process, is like how many people sort of have my back and are supportive. I think that's a lot of fun. I'm super proud to represent Rhode Island on the national stage.
Absolutely. Rhode Island is a small state, but we have to support and build each other up. Yeah. And of course, we're going to be cheering you on every step of the way. Yeah. Absolutely. Chef Dunn, thank you so much for joining me today. Absolutely.
It's been a blast.
Definitely go ahead and check out Eli's episode on Chopped. I believe it's season 40.
Season 40.
Episode 3.
No. Well, usually what I tell people to do is go on YouTube and Google November 27th, Chopped, and the name of the episode is Tea, Eggs, and Sympathy. I can never remember which number episode it is, but if you Google Tea, Eggs, and Sympathy, you will see my smiling face.
Absolutely. Go and check out his win. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Laura.
Of course, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with our next guest.